Hello, and welcome back. In this video, we'll discuss the prerequisites for this course, and I'll provide an overview of the instance I'll be using. Okay, so this is not a beginner level course. Having a solid understanding of ServiceNow is definitely recommended. It's even better if you have personal admin experience on the platform. Having a solid understanding of database concepts like tables, fields, and records will also help you with this course. I also recommend having a general understanding of HTTP and how web apps actually work over the internet. Now, you don't have to be an expert in this field, but just know the difference between client-side or server-side. And finally, because this is a scripting course, JavaScript is a prerequisite. Unfortunately, due to the scope of this course, I will not be teaching you JavaScript. There's literally hundreds of thousands of other amazing courses, videos, and material out there on the internet. And I'll point you in the right direction, but just keep in mind that when we start coding in this course, I expect you to have a general understanding of JavaScript and some object-oriented programming concepts. Alright, so what you will need? Well, you'll need a computer with a modern web browser and an internet connection. That's really it to watch the videos. Now, in addition to that, I highly recommend getting a personal instance. You can do so by going to developer.servicenow.com and signing up for a personal ServiceNow instance. If you follow along using a ServiceNow instance, I highly recommend that you do not follow along in a production instance. So if you work for a company and would like to follow along, I recommend either getting a personal instance or at the very least playing around in a dev instance. Alright, so for the purposes of this course, I will be using my own personal developer instance. Keep in mind that this may have slight modifications from out of the box or the instance that you are using. I try to keep my instance as close to out of the box as possible, but I've had this instance for many years now, so keep in mind that there will be some differences here and there. I am running Istanbul on my personal instance, which is using UI16 and List v3. Again, if you're using a different release of ServiceNow, that's perfectly okay. You don't need to be on this specific version or even be using UI16 or List v3. The core concepts that we discuss in this course are release agnostic. So a business rule will always be a business rule within ServiceNow, whether you're on the Eureka release or the Jakarta release. Now, while there have been some big changes to user interface in ServiceNow, and things might look a lot different, under the hood, it's all just configurations stored as records and tables in a database. So if your instance does look different, try not to focus too much on the looks as opposed to the concepts that we're discussing. The user account I use in this video has the admin role and security admin role. And the browser I'll be using is the latest Mozilla Firefox release. Alright, now let's discuss the text editor I'll be using. So I just want to let you know right off the bat that a text editor is not required. ServiceNow has actually come a long way since the old days where you're typing scripts in an input field. Now they have relatively modern in-browser text editors that you can use and are just as powerful as text editors you run on your operating system. But for the purposes of this course and the readability for you, the student, I chose to go with the Atom text editor. One of the amazing things about Atom is it's an open source text editor by GitHub, and it's completely free. Here's a screenshot of the code we'll be writing within the upcoming videos within Atom. In the majority of the videos, I'll write the code in the text editor, and then I'll copy and paste that code into ServiceNow just so it's easier to read for you guys. Alright, now let's discuss some of the core goals I wanted this course to have. So the ServiceNow platform is huge, and with every release it continues to grow, introducing new tables, new business rules, new client scripts, etc. And as someone learning the platform and being introduced to this for the first time, it can be extremely overwhelming. So I asked myself, with such an overwhelming number of places to script in ServiceNow, how could I fit this into a course that actually makes sense? Well, in this course I've decided to focus on the what and how rather than the where. So instead of breaking the course up into sections that cover where to script, instead, each section will be covering more of the what and how, and then you can apply that to the specific locations within ServiceNow. Now, in Section 3, I'll still cover probably 95% of the scripting locations you'll use as a ServiceNow developer, but I'm placing more emphasis on the what and how, specifically covering the ServiceNow APIs. And then once you have an understanding of how the APIs work within ServiceNow, it doesn't matter where you apply those, whether it's a business rule or a script include. Now, at the end of every section where I introduce a new ServiceNow API, I will tell you where this specific API can be used, whether it's client-side or server-side. Now, while I've tried my best to cover all of the most important scripting concepts in ServiceNow, this course does not cover every single scripting component. So this course should get you 80 to 90% of the way there, but in order to understand the entire platform, you'll still need to read the ServiceNow documentation. Now I'd like to end this section by discussing what to do when you spot an error in this course. So I've spent literally hundreds of hours creating this course, and I tried to provide you, the student, with a quality course. But I'm not perfect, and I'm sure I'll be making mistakes throughout this course. So if you spot one, please report them to me so I can fix them as soon as possible.